I've been talking for a while about doing this, and I haven't got around to checking out a Ricky Gervais bit or clip until just now. This is only about 5 minutes long, and the reason I chose a shorter segment is because there's something else I want to film after this. I want to start actually watching a show to put up for like a reaction to a show, and it's for Nosferatu, and I hadn't even thought about doing my first show reaction or episode reaction to that until someone mentioned it today, reminded me of the existence of this thing. I have never watched it, but I've been wanting to. Anyway, so the episodes are long. I don't think I can watch them all in one sitting, but I wanted to get started on that tonight. But I also wanted to check out some stand-up comedy. And I found Ricky Gervais, and I found a short one that's not like 10 or 15 minutes long. I hesitate a little bit to do this because this is coming straight from a Netflix channel or Netflix YouTube channel. And they were the ones that gave me the strike on the Jim Jeffries, my commentary on the Jim Jeffries gun control thing. And so, I don't know what will happen with this. I have noticed that there have been some videos that I have done reaction and commentary to that I have still gotten copyright claimed even when I pause it. So like I said, that does not always matter. And sometimes claimants, they don't give a flip about fair use. They're just gonna, they're gonna, initiate the claim or refuse to release the claim. So, and if you appeal, and then they don't like that you've appealed, then that's when they give you the strike or whatever. So anyway, we'll see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen, but I am curious to check out some Ricky Gervais, and this was the shortest thing that I had on my list. So let's go ahead and jump into it now. This is the one about, it says he breaks down why he hates social media. This is pretty relevant. I don't know what the date of this video is, but it's still relevant. Doesn't matter.
But the world is getting worse, and I blame the beginning of its demise on social media. Because Twitter and Facebook, that's where this ridiculous notion bred, right, and became stable, that it was more important to be popular than right, right? Everything was like me, agree with me. It falls into two tribes. Oh, I don't agree with them, so I'd block them, right? And
yeah.
Now, in this post-truth era, people don't care about the argument. They don't look at the argument.
Mm-mm.
They say, who's saying the argument? No, they're not on our side, right? It's ludicrous, okay? And it also bred this ridiculous notion, we've always had, my opinion is worth as much.
Those lights, did you guys notice the lights in the background? Isn't that like the symbol? That reminds me of the symbol for like Umbrella Corporation from Resident Evil. I don't know, that's just what, I got a little bit distracted by that. But anyway, I did want to mention how he's absolutely right. I don't think anybody really with any sense could disagree with what he's saying here. Social media has bred this awful tribalism among people, and it doesn't matter. Facts don't matter. All that matters is staying loyal to your tribe and trying very hard to make sure you let everybody else know what a good moral person you are because you are speaking out against this awful thing someone thinks or said, even if it's really not even all that awful, but, they're Hitler, so, I mean, that's the sort of thing that's going on in social media. I think we all are aware of that.
We've always had, my opinion is worth as much as your opinion. But now we've got my opinion is worth as much as your fact, which is nonsense.
Right.
I get tweets from people saying, well, I believe the earth is 6,000 years old. Well, I believe you're a fucking idiot then. Right? You can't have an opinion on the age of the earth, right? You can have your own opinions, but you can't have your own facts, right?
Right.
But it's all about being popular, right? And Even politicians picked up
Virtue
those
signaling.
symptoms. Politicians tweet now. They want to be popular. We had a referendum about Brexit because they were passing the buck. They didn't want to make a mistake. So, and the other thing is this ridiculous thing of, let's ask the average person what they think. Let's stop asking the average person what they think. Do you know?
Because the average person in so many ways is terribly uninformed and not necessarily, I mean, the average person is busy with life. So they don't really have time to be in the know on all this stuff, but the average person is very uninformed, and that's intentional because the media shapes their narrative in such a way that it misleads people. So a lot of people think they know what the real deal is, but it really isn't. And you only know it's not if you dig deeper behind the headlines.
Average person. Do you know how fucking stupid the average person is? We still sell bottles of bleach with big labels on that say, do not drink.
Right.
Let's take those labels off, right? For 2 years. And then have a referendum. Now, admittedly, when I first got on Twitter, I pushed my agenda a little bit. I was an outspoken atheist, not because I thought I'd change anyone's opinions, but because I thought it was important to tell the other side, There's still 13 countries where people are put to death just for being an atheist, and there's people bullied, and I just wanted to say, it's fine to be an atheist, it's fine to believe in God, and it's fine not to. That's all I was saying, really. And then I realised I didn't even have to tweet about religion or atheism. I could just tweet a fact, and that annoyed just the right people, right? I tweet things like, happy birthday, Earth, 4.6 billion years old today. And someone would always go, oh, we know what you're fucking doing, we know what you're doing, right? But again, that's what the world is like. People take everything personally. I think the world revolves around them, right? Particularly on Twitter, right? I don't know, I'm not tweeting anyone, I'm just tweeting, okay? I don't know who's following me. I've got 12 million.
Twitter is one of the worst, you guys. I mean, Twitter, and then right behind that, Facebook. To me, you know what, honestly, they're both, I think, kind of equally bad. I guess Twitter just seems like it's worse because there's so much rapid fire exchange because you're limited to how many characters you can put in a comment. So it's just like you can get so many comments. So, that can happen on Facebook too. But sometimes on Facebook, people go more in depth into explaining their argument or their viewpoint or whatever. Whereas in Twitter, it's just, a handful of characters. And anyway.
Following me, I've got 12 million followers. I don't know who's following me. They can be following me without me knowing, right? Choose to read my tweet and then take that personally. That's like going into a town square, seeing a big notice board, and there's a notice, guitar lessons, and you go, but I don't fucking want guitar lessons. What's this? There's a number here. All right, all that, right? Are you giving me guitar lessons? Yeah. I don't fucking want any. Fine, it's not for you then. Just walk away. Don't worry about it. I should say one thing in Twitter's defense. I mean, I use it as a marketing tool and for fun like everyone else, right? But one great thing about Twitter, for me personally, I'm very into sort of anti-animal cruelty. And years ago, it would take ages to get 100,000 signatures on a petition standing outside Tesco's or something, right? And that's the magic number because then it gets heard, in Parliament. And I've been part of many campaigns through Twitter that we've got 100,000 signatures in days, maybe, and the law's been changed. So thank you to anyone who's ever retweeted anything to do with animal cruelty, because it really makes a difference. So thank you.
Yeah. That is true. For all the downsides of social media, there are a lot of good sides to it as well. You've got things like he mentioned, his activism, and how you're able to kind of mobilize a lot of people. The flip side of that, the dark side of that, is people taking the activism into this yes, SJW, social justice warrior type area where it becomes like an actual crusade against people and against society. And it's just very, I mean, you see what's happening right now, like in our country here. And it's even happening in other places too. It's like mobs can very easily be gathered together through the power of social media. So just like, for every good thing about social media, there's a bad thing. And I don't know, how do you resolve it? You can't really ban it, because I would be against banning something like that, banning freedom of expression and things like that. But at the same time, I don't like the terrible negative consequences of social media. But that's part of it. That's part of the territory. I don't know.
But even something as like clear and distinct as animal cruelty, right? You think no one's going to argue with that, are they? Yes, they will, right?
Yes, people
they
argue about
want to
everything.
be heard, right? I'll tweet something about a bull being tortured in a bull ring, right, for entertainment, and I say ban bullfighting. Someone always says, "What about the kids in Syria?" What?
Oh,
I'm
yes.
not giving you a choice.
Right.
You can do both. I'm not saying throw that kid back in the hole. There's a bull here, right?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I think he's done, but yeah, he's done. Yes, that's true. That happens too. And that's really frustrating, you guys. It's like you bring up a point and, okay, so the reason people do that is because they are trying to distract from your original narrative, like the point you're actually making. So they attempt to distract you from that, and that's when they do lame stuff like throwing that sort of thing in. It has nothing to do with what the person's talking about. It's kind of like they're coming on your page or on your little area of whatever the platform is, and they're trying to lecture you about what you're putting on your little space, and trying to dictate to you how you should be conducting yourself, or what you should be choosing to talk about. That gets under my skin when people do that. Like they're trying to police you, basically. And that's not cool. That's not cool at all. And just because someone highlights one specific sort of issue that they are passionate about, it doesn't mean they're saying everything else doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is this one thing I'm talking about. That's not like for me, one of my main issues that I speak out against a lot, more so in the past, because now I'm more busy with the work that I do, plus now the channel. But I would speak out often against forced genital mutilation, male and female, but more specifically male, because females are legally protected in pretty much all first world countries against things like that, but men are not. And so, you speak out against something like that, and then you have someone who comes and just, well, what about this? And what about this? And well, if that's something you're passionate about, that's your deal, because I'm focused on this one particular subject. It doesn't mean I'm negating this other thing. It just means that's something that's the focus of my attention. And I can put my attention on different things, but I prefer to just kind of like, my focus is on a very select amount of issues. So like, male circumcision is one of the main things. And then of course, I speak a lot about, men's rights and the double standard against men and things like that. I also, express political views too. But, just because someone is segmented in their ideas about certain things, it doesn't mean they don't care about the other things. But it also doesn't mean that they're telling you not to care about these other things just because they're talking about some certain thing. So when someone comes in and says, well, what about such and such? And what about that is just distraction. That's all it is. And it's also distraction when someone comes on, your social media profile or your wall or page or whatever, and they will do things like launch a personal attack against you or accuse you of being something. Throw a label at you. That's also a distraction. That is also, in addition to being a distraction or a diversionary tactic, it's also an attempt to shut you up. So one of the one of the things that is probably like the last thing I think people should do is when someone's accused of being whatever. A common thing now is being accused of being a Nazi or a racist or whatever. Don't even defend against that, because that's what the person accusing you of that wants you to do. They want you to defend yourself, because then you get sidetracked from whatever it is you're talking about, whatever point you're trying to make. And you go over here and you're, well, I'm not such and such because of such and such. Don't even do that. That's a waste of time. It doesn't matter. You're not going to convince them anyway. They're just trying to shut you up. So anyway, these are things I've learned over the years on social media, and I've been on social media for a while. But yeah, it certainly, it has its upsides. It's got its downsides. I kind of feel like in a lot of ways it has more negatives to it than positives. But at the same time, if it wasn't for social media and platforms, like where we are social and interact, we wouldn't be able to meet so many great people across the world. We wouldn't be able to have so many opportunities. Like my job came about because of social media, because the guy that I work with, he was by himself at the time, and he asked me to be his audiobook proofer, and I said yes, and we started working together, and now it's turned into something, really so much bigger than it was initially, where it was just him in the beginning. And if it weren't for Facebook, let's say, and for a mailing list called Audiobook Boom or Audiobook Blast, something like that, we never would have had this opportunity to work together and work on great stories and produce great content for people. So, you can't really throw the baby out with the bathwater as far as social media goes, but I do understand why a lot of people just kind of cut it off and stay off of it. I feel like a lot of times it's so much more mentally healthy to do that. But I keep going back to it because I've got a lot of great friends on there that I've met on the internet, and I've known them for years. Some I've met in real life, and also family members. You're able to connect with a bunch of family members all at once, like on Facebook. So yeah, but I do agree with him. I think a lot of society's problems, a lot of the degeneration in society, a lot of the friction and the fighting and the anger and the just hate, I think that is very much directly tied into the existence of social media. And it's a shame. It really is a shame that such a great tool can be used as such a terrible weapon. And I hate that. But, people are people, and this is how humans behave. Anyway, okay, well, this was entertaining. And I feel like I have blabbered on long enough, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I'll return to Ricky Gervais at some point, but I wanted to get around to him because people have mentioned him so many times, and I am aware of Ricky. I love this guy. I don't always agree with him on certain things, but I love that he's got the guts to stand up against the mob when they come after him and try to, shut him up. I love him for that, and I wish we had more people like that. Anyway, so, okay, well, that's it for this one, you guys. Hasta luego.